Tugendhat.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I must say I agree with almost every word that my honourable friend, the member for Rotherham, has shared with this House. There are very few who could praise DfID as highly as I have, and not just here, but actually when I first came into contact with DfID in a meaningful sense when I was the advisor to the Governor of Helmand. From 2006 to 2007, I had the great privilege of working alongside some of the UK's most effective foreign policy experts in DfID, delivering marketplaces, roads, opportunities for individuals to turn away from a drugs economy and towards a prosperity that would have, one hoped, led to a real change in that country, was one of the great prides and great privileges of my life. But those people were not just working in the pursuit of the alleviation of poverty. They were working on Britain's national interest. And here I'm going to pick up on some of the words that my honourable friend, the member for Rotherham, used. She did specifically say, and quite rightly, that these actions are in British national interest. Defending the people of Sierra Leone, people particularly close to my right honourable friend, the Minister, whose family hails from there, is absolutely in our national interest. Furthering the work that my right honourable friend, the member for Sutton Coldfield, pursued when he was Secretary of State, is directly in Britain's national interest. And that's why, although I appreciate the concerns that my honourable friend has, I think that merging British foreign policy and our national interest with our aid department can be done to the promotion of both. I think that so long as we maintain the culture, we will do better. I'm going to give way further over there.
Thank you. And I agree with my honourable friend, but do you also agree with me that the UK aid budget, as it's funded by the British taxpayer, it is absolutely vital that it is properly scrutinised in Parliament?
I'm going to just answer it with a few words. Tax is money taken by force. It must be scrutinised by this House and made sure that it is spent appropriately and correctly. And that's why I am passionate in defending the ICAI Commission that my honourable friend chairs so effectively.
I'm very grateful to my honourable friend for giving way, and very pleased indeed to hear what he said about the absolute importance of the ICAI. He was talking about the spending being in the national interest. Can I make it clear that many of us believe that every single penny of the international development budget is spent in Britain's national interest?
That is only true because of the assiduous nature with which my honourable friend, my right honourable friend and others have supervised the spending. There are other organisations which spend in other ways where I would argue that is not the case. But the way that the DfID budget has been managed by my right honourable friend, and indeed ministers like the minister who is sitting before us today, have absolutely prioritised, I would argue, British national interest through the alleviation of poverty, yes, focusing on different areas than, for example, our defensive element of national interest or our educational national interest or whatever it happens to be, and have absolutely delivered what I think is fundamentally in British national interest, and that's why I am very keen to defend the 0.7% and indeed the amazing work of the people of East Kilbride, demonstrating that the UK working together abroad really does promote the interests of all of us. I think it's absolutely essential that we remember that when we look around the world, we see countries and we see peoples with whom we have different relationships. My honourable friend, the member sitting in front of us on the SNP benches, will talk passionately and correctly about Malawi and the deep links between the people of Scotland and Malawi. And he's absolutely right. I could talk passionately and strongly about Afghanistan or indeed Iraq, two countries where I have been involved. My honourable friend, the minister, could talk about Sierra Leone. My right honourable friend from Sutton Coldfield could speak about any number of other countries and talk about that depth of relationship. And this is something that I think is so essential here. What we're actually talking about is harnessing the combined interests of the peoples of these islands, our pasts, our histories, our interests, and the living bridges that tie us around the world, and making sure that we build on that. And that's why this union can work. That's why the link between Foreign Office and aid is fundamentally one that can work. But, and there's always a but, isn't there? But it depends on culture. It depends absolutely on making sure that we do not make the mistake that Australia made and losing the amazing people. It means that we must remember that when we bring DfID and the Foreign Office together, it's a merger of equals and not a takeover. It means that we remember that when the Foreign Office speaks, as my right honourable friend, or rather the member for the other place now, Lord Haig, spoke about when he was Foreign Secretary, preventing sexual violence in conflict. That was both aid and foreign policy. So we can see that actually these departments already are working together. And my honourable friend, the member for Sutton Coldfield, will say there is no such thing as a merger of equals. In that case, perhaps this is a DfID takeover of King Charles Street. Because there is actually a real opportunity here. So long as we get the right person as PUS, somebody who can work in multilateral environments, somebody who can run a budget that's about a dozen times the Foreign Office budget, somebody who can hold the accountability of British taxpayers' money to account and make sure that it is spent specifically in the national interest, I think we can get the effect that this government is seeking. And if we do, we will be supercharging foreign policy from these islands. We will be doubling down on our soft power and turning it into real strategic effect, not just for these islands, not just in defending the international rules-based system that has allowed us all to prosper, broadly speaking, for about 7 decades in mostly peace and harmony. But I hope we will be doubling down on that for countries around the world and making sure that more and more can share the opportunities. It has never been more important. It has never mattered more. The Minister's hands are very heavy with the burden he carries.